Alright, we also saw that we have very secure FTP 2.3.4, which was at one point subject to a backdoor. So someone broke into the repositories for very secure FTPD and replaced the source with a little something extra. It was found and put back, but if you did install during that short time period where it was backdoored, you could end up with certified pre-owned code. So we aren't entirely sure just from the version, because there wasn't a version number change before or after the backdoor was put in, but our Nessus seemed to think that it was there, and there's really no reason not to try it. If we look at the blog post about it, where it goes through the source code, all it's going to do is, if there's a smiley face in the username, it will spawn a backdoor. So if it doesn't work, what will happen is that you'll just get a bad login error and the FTP server will go on as usual. But there's no reason not to try it. So I want to FTP to our Linux system. I'll say Georgia smiley face. The smiley face being the key, and it doesn't want a password. I'll just put in any password. And it appears to hang. Our FTP server doesn't do anything. If we open up another terminal, and in the information about this, it said that it spawns a shell as root on port 6200 TCP. So we didn't get anything that said it couldn't connect, but we don't get a prompt either. But what if I do a who am I? Root! Well, that was easy. So what if I cat out Etsy Shadow? I actually added a ton of extra accounts, as you can see. The one that you can download just has the Georgia user, but I added a ton of other ones for our password section, and you can do the same. Just put in a lot of usernames and passwords into it. And we'll see if we can crack some of these in the next section. We'll do the same thing with Windows. Alright, so this would be good information to save for later. I'll get Georgia as well. Can use these in the password section. And I'll just exit out of here. Nano Linux passwords. Text. Bob has no password. That's odd. Notice like this one here has a 1 at the beginning, whereas the rest of these have a 6, so maybe they're using different algorithms. That might be something we want to check out when we do our password attacks. So that was pretty easy, right? Well, there's also a Metasploit module for this, but just based on how this works, we're not actually going to do any better with this Metasploit module. You can try it out if you like. If we show payloads on this, actually the only payload we have is just this command Unix interact. So all it's going to do is connect to that 6200 port if it's successful. So we'll get the exact same thing. So in this case, using Metasploit doesn't even give us a better option. We could, once we have root access, certainly use like wget and build like an elf file of our Unix interpreter or some other language that Linux knows, like Python, Perl, and we could get a better shell, but we already have root access, and it is interactive, so aside from not having a prompt, we haven't really lost anything here, so I would say this is sufficient. So you may run into something like this. I mean, it's possible. I have certainly had clients who have been hacked before, or thought it would be a good idea to set up some like remote administration for themselves. You know, they leave VNC listening on a non-standard port, or worse yet, they download some hack tool and it's like, oh, look at me, this will let me do all this stuff to it. And, you know, they just leave it running. It's just kind of a way to remotely control their devices, not thinking about the security implications of it. And, I mean, I've certainly been guilty of leaving vulnerable software running around on my network as I'm doing research on it or working on new exercises for class, and leave vulnerable software and forget about it for a few days, and it just ends up running there. But I always at least try and keep them in virtual machines that don't have any of my work stuff on it, so hopefully I'm not exposing my clients to anything. So, but you should always look out for things like this. I mean, non-standard ports that are listening, or Zervit port could have just as easily been some sort of backdoor from a previous compromise, or a user trying to make their life easier.